radio at its best. Relax Radio.
Welcome back to the show. This is Relax Radio, Relaks. Where we try to keep it positive and we don't have the X involved. That's right. This is Real Talk with me, Nick, giving you guys company all the way until 6 p.m. And we're talking about all the things that is going on in the UK right now and that is happening actually in the whole country. And there has been talks of the situation, the whole COVID situation is one instance that is, being discussed and how, the government is looking into all these matters right now. And the Scottish government actually has started to lift the ban on the travel to Manchester right now. So this is something the government is taking into consideration and they're doing their best on this particular matter. So the Scottish government is to lift its ban on non-essential travel between Scotland and parts of northwest England, including Manchester, and the restriction sparked a row between the First Minister Nicola Sturgeon and Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham. Yeah, that's right. They were both arguing about this particular thing and they were saying, okay, this is, they had to address all of this. And Mr. Burnham accused Ms. Sturgeon of hypocrisy for imposing the ban without any consultation with him. And he also pointed out that parts of Scotland had higher COVID rates than Manchester. So the ban on travel between Scotland, which currently has the highest COVID rate of any UK nation, and Manchester came into force on the 21st of June. And they discussed about this and they were saying, okay, right now the Scottish leader, that is Nicola Sturgeon, she discussed about this and she pointed out on this particular thing and she imposed all of this. And this caused a lot of issues and people were frustrated when it came to this regard. And the health secretary Hamza Yusuf also said the measure and a similar ban on travel to and from Bolton that announced in May is to be lifted from midnight on Tuesday after a careful review of the data. I mean, this is the statistics, what they're trying to say. And right now, looking at all this, looking at all the situation, the UK, when it comes to Scotland right now, the situation, the Scottish have been trying to keep it in line and try to make sure that, a lot of the people follow in line with that particular matter. And there has been, like I said, a lot of these cases, and they did prevent and avoid although they haven't initially, they didn't initially establish a whole travel ban from these places. They did warn caution, and they did say, okay, these places, you shouldn't go to any of these places because this is going to be a problem. There will be, you should, avoid travel to these non-essential areas. Non-essential travel to these areas should be not, it shouldn't be happening. And with that regards, though, there was a lot of friction caused between Andy Burnham and Nicola Sturgeon with that regards, and they were talking about all of this. And a ban on the non-essential travel to Blackburn as well with the Darwin local authority area will remain in place for at least another week. So like I said, it's natural, to feel the friction between these two, the two leaders from these two parts. There's going to be a lot of friction. They're going to be angry with each other because right now Manchester needs a reason. They didn't explain the reason. They said, okay, look, the number of cases that we have in Manchester City and compared to in Scotland, well, it's not that much big of a difference. So how come you get to choose which place to go to without giving us a reason? And they want transparency is the matter. They're saying, okay, we need transparency with this regard. The government has to be more transparent. They have to make sure that, they open up with this. Well, how come this is not even being reviewed? So Mr. Burnham had accused Ms. Sturgeon of hypocrisy over the completely disproportionate ban, saying that she had failed to engage with concerns about this. And he also threatened legal action on behalf of individuals and businesses who were affected. And he's saying, okay, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take you to court. We're going to sue you. We're going to file for legal mitigation. So you guys need to make sure that you look into this because this is something that's not acceptable. When the government does something like this, the businesses will be affected, people will be affected, and households will be affected. So what is your answer to this is what they're saying to Nicola Sturgeon. And Ms. Sturgeon also said she was a bit confused about the mayor's stance and suggested his statement were part of some position in a labor leadership contest of the future. So COVID infection numbers, though, have been hitting a series of new record highs in Scotland over the past week, with more than 3,200 cases being reported on Monday alone. 3,200 cases. Let that number sink in. That's a lot of people, in a very short period of time. And so since Monday, there's been 3,200 cases on Monday, and the highest that has been since the pandemic began. So right now, Scotland is having the most cases in the UK. So the Scottish government scientists say infections could hit up to 100,000 per week by mid mid-July, or in a worst case scenario, it can be even more than that. So Mr. Yusuf also said there was no plans for additional restrictions to be imposed, with the vaccine program weakening the link between cases and serious illness. And he insisted that the government would never allow the number of weekly cases to even hit 100,000. Although statistics have been saying that this could happen, scientists are coming up with these models and they're saying, okay, these are the projected numbers. The way we're going at the rate that we are going at, well, this is just something that will be unavoidable. This is something that will happen. And announcing the lifting of the travel ban, though, the health secretary said nobody wanted them to be in place any longer than absolutely necessary. And he said placing restrictions on travel between Scotland and parts of northwest England was only taken after extremely careful consideration and analysis of data to help prevent the spread of variant of concern. So she went on to say, following a careful review of the data, we have decided to ease travel, especially, these arrangements between Scotland and Manchester, Salford and Bolton. However, the situation regarding Blackburn and Darwin will need to be closely monitored and be reviewed again in a week's time. So Ms. Burnham said also that, he had serious concern about the ban being imposed, but was grateful to the First Minister and to the Scottish government for listening and for the decision they have announced today. So Ms. Sturgeon said later that Scottish government, the government COVID briefing, that there were two factors in particular which could be behind Scotland's high rate cases. So they're saying, okay, right now we're looking at the whole, especially how these cases are coming. And they pointed out two particular factors. And this is what Nicola Sturgeon was saying. There are two factors that we have found. And she said that the variant in England seeded into Bolton, first of all. So she's saying, okay, what happened was we blame the Delta variant. That is the Indian variant. It's because of that variant. Well, this is how this whole thing began. And it situated itself and seeded itself into Bolton. And this is why we have a spread in those places. So in an English context, size-wise, Bolton is relatively small, but then there's spread as well. And the other place, the whole Delta variant spreading, though, it did spread to Glasgow as well, and that caused a rise of concern. I don't know if you guys remember. I mean, of course, if you're from Glasgow, well, you will definitely remember this. There was a time where all the other parts of the country was down to level 2, but Glasgow was stuck at level 3. So yeah, there was concerns about that. And they say that the biggest city, it accounts for a lot and a bigger population. And it's because of that, they stayed in isolation for a very long time, and travel to these particular parts were prohibited because of the number of cases rising in Glasgow. But hopefully now the cases have, weeded down a little bit. It has whittled down to the few numbers, but there are still rising number of cases. So the government wants to know how they can sort into this particular thing and how they can, solve this particular matter. And I don't know what Nicola Sturgeon is going on about there. With the issues that is going on, there has been a lot of back and forth between the Scottish government and the city of Manchester. That there has been friction, and they are talking about this. And I hope that it doesn't elevate and it doesn't escalate more than it necessarily has to, because right now they are trying to avoid all of this, and they are saying that they are lifting all of these bans to Manchester. And I don't really see. Yes, I understand contextually. If you think about it, yes, there was not enough transparency. They want to know why were we in the first place put in a situation like this, and why are you lifting the bans now only? Why not before? Because you have to understand, a lot of these businesses were affected. A lot of these companies were affected and were struggling with this regard. So they want to know, they want an answer from Nicola Sturgeon. Why did this happen? How come, this happened? And if you're not going to answer, well, what we're going to do is we are going to file a case against you. We're going to file legal problems, and you're going to be into a lot of these legal situations, and that will just cause problems. And so he's going to do this on behalf of individuals and businesses who were affected. Because trust me, a lot of these businesses were affected because, like I said, what we're trying to do now is, although the green list is happening, and yes, we can travel internationally, but, just for a couple of countries, but what we're trying to do is trying to keep local businesses alive. And to do that, I mean, if Nicola Sturgeon is going to put a ban like that and not going to explain the exact reason why she did it and, what caused her to do it, well, there's going to be problems that people are going to be angry, and they're going to be, wondering what the government is doing. How come they're doing something like this and not informing us beforehand? I mean, yeah, that's just, it's a reasonable reaction. And yeah, I really hope Nicole Sturgeon has an answer with that regards. I hope she can find a way to, respond to all of this, and it doesn't escalate the way it's escalating right now. I hope it doesn't escalate out of hand. So hopefully they can find a way and a measure to handle this particular situation. But that's just food for thought in the future. Hopefully the government can find a way to address this particular matter. But until then, I'll keep you guys posted on what is going on, and it is about that time of the day for me to head on out of here. But don't worry, I'll be catching you guys again tomorrow, same time, same place, same frequency, only here on Relaks Radio. That's right, Relaks. And with that, my name is Nick, and I'm out of here.